You probably decided to watch this video because, like millions of other people, you're discovering that depressive medication doesn't solve depression. In almost all cases, it makes it worse. The second you get off of it, it without doubt makes it worse. All it does is medicate the symptom. It never solves the core problem. It doesn't address the cause. You've probably done some research and realized that every single medication out there, doesn't matter the brand name, tests out with almost the exact same efficiency as sugar pill, placebo, meaning the only reason people get benefit from it is because it's psychosomatic. They think they'll get benefit from it. You've also probably experienced the absolutely horrific side effects from depressive medication. Just Google side effects and you'll be blown away. And many times, almost all the side effects are worse than the depression itself. And so you're looking for real solution, real answers. Well, that's what this video is about, is to recognize the several things, problems in our medical community, problems in the way we look at treating people, and give you real solutions to help with your depression, because no one deserves to live that way. So let's start handling some of the myths and the facts. Modern brain research is showing us that the way we think and feel creates our biology, meaning the old adage that it's faulty brain chemistry that's creating your depression is wrong. You might genetically be predisposed, but that doesn't mean it's predetermined. In other words, it takes faulty thinking and feeling to trigger that gene of depression to activate. See, medicine, unfortunately, only looks at biology. Picture it this way. Imagine a car. The way medicine approaches our body is they're only going to look at the engine, nothing else. And so if you have a flat tire, what they're looking to do is, well, the car's not running. Let's give it gas. No, we need to focus on the tire, right? The tire's flat. And okay, you can give it gas and the car will still run, but it's clunky. Well, that's side effects. And here's why. Here's how all medicine works. And this is why, people are more and more pulling away from medicine, is because it's really become pharmacology. All medical schools are run by drug factories. They pay for all of it. And so all of our doctors, think of the last time you went in to see your doctor. Only very few doctors don't come in this way with a prescription pad asking, what are your symptoms? And then they're just sitting in their head calculating, well, which prescription will meet those side effects, those symptoms. They're just a pill mill. That's it. But here's the problem. I'm going to give you a crude understanding of how illness and disease works. Illness and disease works when the cell breaks down. And I want you to picture a cell that it's like an orange. You know how an orange has all those little bumps? Well, those are called receptor sites, all right? So each cell has millions of receptor sites. So let's say, just for argument's sake, it has a million of them. Well, let's say 1,000 of them are depressed, all right? This is the condition that you're struggling, is depression. Well, when you take that pill, it doesn't attach to those 1,000 depressed receptor sites. It attaches to the whole cell. Do you see the problem? This is what triggers side effects. So all of these receptor sites which weren't activated, remember, what activates our illness and disease is environment. Remember what I said. Brain research is showing us that the way we think and feel creates our biology. And so our thoughts and feelings are creating our illness and disease. All right? And so our thoughts and feelings are creating this depression. The medication comes in. It doesn't attach to those. It attaches to the whole site, whole cell. So now what's happened? All of these latent conditions just got turned on. That's what side effects are, is parts of the cell which weren't activated have just been activated. Now they give you another pill to shut down that part of the cell. Basically, they're just numbing you out. and robbing you of your life. That's how medicine works. It doesn't enhance your life. It shuts it down. It medicates it. That's not health. That's death. Okay? That's robbing everyone of their life. Okay, so I'm going to read to you a couple of quotes so you get an idea. These are from the people that, the genetic researchers who have, discovered that health needs to be biopsychosocial. In other words, not just the biology. It's not predetermined, Darwinian, we just are what we are. We now know about neuroplasticity. So what we need to start bringing into our medicine is the psychological, the emotion, because we're seeing almost all diseases and illness and disease are caused by emotions that haven't been dealt with. That's Candace Pert, Molecules of Emotion. And as she talks about in her book, if you look underneath your depression, you'll find anger. Look underneath your anger, you'll find sadness. And under sadness is the root of it all. What's really masquerading all the while? Fear. Now, where did we learn to be afraid? Childhood. Every single one of us has been through perfectly imperfect parenting. Now, sadly, most people are like, oh, my childhood was great. It's absolutely not possible. All of us, even under the best parents, go through levels of shame. Our parents shame us. They're human. They're going to make mistakes. To believe that you didn't experience shame and fear in your childhood is to believe that you were raised by a perfect being, a God. Well, I've never seen any documented proof that any of us were raised by a perfect being. It's not possible. All of us were raised with levels of shame and fear. It is just part of it, especially in my age group. Spanking, my gosh, think of how we were corporally punished. That's huge shame and fear. All right? Now, what happens as a child? What's the experience of that? Well, I'm going to read several quotes from Alice Miller, where she, in several of her books, The Drama of the Gifted Child, and I'll give you the titles because I encourage you to read all of this, because at the heart of all of this depression is the inability to express emotions. We just were not allowed to. And so here's one of her quotes from The Body Never Lies. The point is that the fatigue characteristic of such depression, we all know that experience when we're depressed, the fatigue, you can't change your thoughts, can't change your feelings, can't take action on anything. The point is that the fatigue characteristic of such depression reasserts itself every time we repress strong emotions. When we play down the memories stored in the body and refuse them the attention they clamor for, we are depressed because we have suppressed, repressed, minimized, and denied the anger, sadness, and pain of our childhood. That's depression. Who we are was depressed. We were told directly or indirectly, it is not okay for you to be a child. It is not okay for you to be imperfect. It is not okay for you to feel. It is not okay for you to be angry, sad, scared, happy, excited. Your feelings were shunted and blunted. That repetition shut that cell down. If you're listening to this, you already know medicine is a waste of time. You want real answers. You know that healing your emotions is what needs to be done. So instead of, I don't need to prove the point to you. You know the truth. All right? You've lived the truth. So let's get to the solutions. The first thing is to pick up this book by Beverly Engel, The Emotionally Abusive Relationship. For those of you who just can't stomach the truth that you learned this in childhood, it's because you're not aware of what creates perfectly imperfect and dysfunctional parenting. This book lays out many parenting styles, which is tremendous information for you to look and go, oh my gosh, I always thought that was healthy, kind, and loving. I had no idea that my parents were hurting me. I encourage you to pick up this book from Alice Miller, Free from Lies. Also, her books, The Drama of the Gifted Child, and one other one, The Body Never Lies. What you're going to discover in these 4 books is how the trauma from your childhood is being replayed in your life, and it is the cause of your depression. Because remember, Candace Pert, Dr. Bruce Lipton, it's been proven over and over that genes do not predetermine our life. For a gene to activate, it requires other genes and an emotional environment to trigger that illness or disease or that chemical problem in your brain. We can, with neuroplasticity, what it requires is us developing the skills, tools, and knowledge to create new emotions, a new emotional environment to change that genetic makeup, the DNA of the cell, and all of that. That's what's required to heal this, not pills. The next solution I'm going to provide you is located on my website, www.thegreatnessuniversity.com. Go to my website, look for the tab that says free content. Underneath it, I'm suggesting you print off two things. The first one is the feelings wheel, and the second one is just below that, 10 simple steps to heal emotional pain. Here's why. You have to become an expert in emotional mastery. You have to start seeing how your emotions are creating the biology, the thoughts and feelings. Remember, if you've watched my stuff, you know almost all thoughts originate from feelings. So just focusing on thoughts won't do it. Studies show you tell a depressed person to say nice things about themselves, their depression skyrockets. You can't change depression with thoughts. It's a feeling problem. You need emotional mastery, not thought mastery. Your thoughts won't change you until your emotions. So you need that feelings wheel. Start tracking your feelings over the next several days. And here's how I suggest you do it. For the first couple days, just track 3 to 5 times. What am I feeling? Then ask yourself, where in my body am I feeling it? Remember the hippocampus? We store all of our emotional trauma physically in our body. That's why the cell breaks down. That's what makes us sick, hurt, and ill. Is the emotional trauma is in the cells of our body. So we have to become an expert of how I'm storing that emotional trauma in my body. That's step number 2. Step number 3 is ask yourself, when was the first time I had this feeling and felt it in my body? Trace it all the way back. You're going to find a sentinel moment in childhood or many moments in childhood where you experienced the suppression, repression, minimization, and denial of anger, sadness, excitement, any type of emotional expression. Your emotional expressions have been depressed, have been taken from you, and you have not been allowed to express them. That's the healing journey for you, not medicine. It's emotional mastery and learning how to express your emotions in a healthy way. The next step, remember I said the second download, is 10 simple steps to heal emotional pain. That walks you through the complete healing journey to release all of that emotional trauma from the cells. See, we're getting to the core solution. We're not dealing with the symptoms, which is all medicine does and doesn't do it very well, as the studies show. This effectively works and heals your depression. Now, the other thing I'd suggest is I just released a video called How to Release Emotional Pain. It works in concert with that printout. So now you can watch it, you can read it, you can keep it as the workbook, but those 3 things, go to my website, www.thegreatnessuniversity.com. Print off the feelings wheel. Track your feelings, see where you store them in the body, find the original source of the trauma, then print off 10 simple steps to heal emotional pain. Go through that whole process to heal the emotional pain that was placed into you by your parents, caregivers, people in your childhood. Finally, whether it's here on Facebook or it's on my YouTube channel, find the video I just released called How to Release Emotional Pain. That also walks you through it verbally. Some people learn better that way. That's why I'm giving you all 3. Those are your solutions to get off the medication, to deal with the source of the problem, not medicating the symptoms, to actually heal your depression and get your life back, and you deserve it. If you know somebody who's wasting their time, who's not part of that incredibly small people who actually needs medication, and I want to make this clear, I'm not saying not to take medicine. What I am saying is it's a great starting place for some, not for many, but for some. but it is never a solution. This work is always the solution. Okay? So if you know somebody that doesn't want medicine or is using medicine and it's not working, please share this with them. Please like this. Please leave me your comments. Let me know how you got off medication by using this method. And as always, with everything, enjoy the journey.